Hello, Toby Hodges from Yachting World magazine, and we've got a real treat today on board PC47, smallest yacht yet from PC Yachts, built here in Bodrum at Meta Shipyard, and this is only its second day of sailing, so we've poked our noses out to find a bit of thermal breeze and see what this stunning vessel can bring. So we know from PC Yachts first 66 and 55 that they are as enjoyable to sail as they are beautiful to look at. And this 47 is no different. It is slightly different in that it's set up really for shorthanding and for long weekending really. We'll go into that in a bit. But in terms of actually sailing it, well, we've got a bit of breeze on now. We've been sailing in typically 7 to sort of 12 knots. And it powers up really nice and easily. Plenty of sail area with just white sails. You can see here to windward, it's a reach here. Any more heel than this and you'd want to have a foot chock in there to steady yourself, to be standing or sitting. Otherwise, you move to the favoured area, which is obviously sitting to leeward here. Hand on the wheel, nice sight lines through to your tails on your jib. And the other thing to note here as well is just how easy it is to trim. So I'll show you again from the windward side where the sheets are set up at the moment, but you can have the sheets set up on either side. At the moment we've got the main sheet and the self-tack and jib sheet. Self-tack and jib sheet on the primary here, main sheet here, the German system. So easy for me to let off, really easy to let off. They're both powered. Let off either sheet or trim in. And just, whilst having a hand on the wheel and just really enjoying the sailing experience. So at this stage, before I go further into the layout of the boat, I'll tell you a bit more about the concept of this one in particular, because it's pertinent to it. PC Yachts build custom boats here in Turkey, and so a lot of what you see on the boat is obviously bespoke. And this project was for a Japanese couple who sadly, tragically died during the build. The point of raising that is because they asked for things in particular for this boat. So the owner wanted a yacht he could take weekending, really, that was easy to manage short-handed, and therefore the freeboard of the boat is lower because he really loved the aesthetics of it, and it has a much wider stern, a beamier stern. They're Andre Hook designs, very timeless pilot classic style yachts, and this one, as I say, has a much more sort of more contemporary, beamier stern section, and that gives you this huge area behind the wheel. I mean, it's vast. You could land a chopper here. And then forward of the wheel, you have a massive cockpit to take all of the friends you can imagine on board. It's huge. I mean, these must be, over 7 foot long, these cockpit benches, with a great big cockpit table. So that means when you are going, like we are today, day sailing essentially, and want to take guests with you, there's plenty of space for them to be out of the sailing systems, because everything, as we have seen, is centered around this wheel. Everything bar the Traveller. The Traveller itself is on the coach roof and is on an Untitled flatwinder system, which is manually controlled, which does mean that to adjust the Traveller, and I do like having a Traveller to get good shape out of that heavily roached mainsail, you need to move forward to the coach roof to do so. Maybe another owner might want to have a remote one, which they have on the larger yachts as well, so you could control that without moving forward or asking another crew member to do so. Otherwise though, it's a beautiful looking deck design, and you've got this big wheel here sunken into a well, access either side of it. As I said, you may want to add a foot chock if you are going to windward quite a lot and heeling quite a lot, because it does power up in the sort of early double figure true wind speeds, and also adding some sort of tailing bags or stowage system for the line tails rather than having them hanging off the guardrails. So one of the beauties of Pilot Classic shape is that elegant counter stern with the taffrail there, and that's really the start of the details that PC yachts and the yard do so well. As mentioned, an extra large aft cockpit area for sun lounging, but also gives you a bit more extra stowage space. So we'll have a look in a few lockers, including this one now, as we're gently heading back towards Bodrum Marina. So in here, essentially, you can see where you do lose your volume compared with modern shaped yachts. It's a shallow bosun's locker, essentially. Some cleaning gear, some dock lines, hoses, that's about it. And then moving forward, you have the well here with drainage in it for the wheel, and the binnacle in front of that. And you see how direct the steering is. So chain is going from there and then connecting to, you can see where the emergency steering is there. So that actually links up through this table and goes to winches if you do need to use the emergency steering. And then there's a locker on each side, aft bench cockpit lockers, and those join through underneath the boat here. So you can see here, you should be able to see, there's the quadrant and the steering and the autopilot, and then in front of those, that is a watertight bulkhead. So watertight bulkhead in front of the quadrant itself, and there's another watertight bulkhead forward, which will show you. Probably notice how nicely finished the hull is as well. So this is, you can choose to have a wood epoxy or like this in composite. So E-glass epoxy, this one with full carbon stiffeners and stringers throughout the boat. As mentioned, very large cockpit, big fixed cockpit table. This at the moment is stowage in here, which uses suckers to lift them up. Obviously you could have handles on there and a fridge in there, whatnot. Then moving forward on the boat, you go past the winches and lovely scuppers, and this is a bit of the detailing I was mentioning, just the fair leads and the teak tow rails. There's a lot of teak on this boat, and how nicely integrated the guardrails are on there. And then you have this lovely flat coach roof over this timeless coach roof shape, and that just means it's easy to walk around the deck as well. So you've got a nice wide area for the Traveller, easy to get up on the coach roof itself, to get up to the boom, to manage the sails. And while we're here, you'll notice this is a furler boom. So part of the concept of this owner wanting to be able to sail the boat easily himself is having a furling boom. Obviously a stack pack main and a non-self-tacking jib or genoa is an option. But this has worked very well. Very easy to set and trim, and been jibing around using all sorts of different angles without anyone having to move on our sailing today, and plenty of power off this jib. So this one has a 2-spreader Sparcraft rig, and yeah, the benefit really of having a nice long bowsprit, this in carbon, is you can see how much further forward the tack of the head sail is set, so you get this huge J area, so plenty of power up forward, and also leaves a lovely flush amount of foredeck space, keeping the dinghy or lounging or whatever. And then moving forward, you have a nice large sail locker as well. For those who do want to set an off-wind sail, and ideally I would say probably a code 0, the larger yachts have integrated in their bowsprit and the option for an electric code 0 furler, which would be a nice solution, but a manual one at this size would be lovely too. Again, nice detailing, nice deck work. Look at the fairleads through there, and then in here it's a half-size locker for access into the sail locker, because you have the windlass on the port side, and this lovely deep sail locker. So the chain locker itself to port, with access into it, and then that's a box for the bowsprit. Obviously, again, an option to make it easy for the owner to handle in a marina, etc. And that is a long, deep sail locker for keeping off-wind sails, and a watertight bulkhead here. So sacrificial section forward, and this watertight bulkhead aft. So the thing to point out here is the flat deck furler for the jib off that bowsprit as well, which also helps bring the foot of the jib down and maximise the sail area. The only thing is, even with this cutaway guardrail here, is that you need to skirt the jib. So when you want to go hard up on the wind, when you've tacked, you need someone to lift the foot of the jib over the guardrail. Moving through the cockpit here, yeah, you have this big wheel here. Hook likes this big wheel, so you could probably actually go even larger with that diameter, so you could helmet from the windward side. In this starboard side you get a vast locker, so no accommodation back here, just a locker that I would say is large enough to take an inflatable dinghy, paddle boards, fenders, and you've also got the hot water tank in there and a black water tank. It's yeah, if you wanted a generator, you'd probably have it in there. This one was originally devised to have aircon running at night offshore power, which is probably the way to go at this size. Another thing you can see, I might have mentioned this before, is a bit of the structure there. So all built to category A ocean going standards. I think that's what would really separate this yacht, is the quality of construction to make it effectively very suitable for going offshore as well. And then you come down the companionway steps, and it's not too far to come down because, as I mentioned, it's not that much freeboard. It's not a lofty interior by modern yacht standards at all. But look how lovely, light and airy it is. And yeah, space where this type of owner would have wanted it. So if once you accept you've got a yacht designed around short-term use, day sailing, weekending, and maybe even a week aboard in this sort of climate, the space is reserved for the areas you want it. So this owner wanted to be able to work a lot from his yacht as well. So you've got a massive, you've essentially got the nav station from the PC55, and you've got a big saloon area, big fixed table for entertaining, similar to the cockpit area there. What you don't have is a big galley or accommodation, you know, heads and cabin sizes really. The other thing you'll probably notice over the 55 is something I really liked on the 55 was having a central engine section to open up that accommodation area aft. This, obviously this size, more conventional, it's under here. We'll open that up and have a look in a minute. Otherwise, it's a 2 cabin layout. Again, I'll emphasize, you know, it's a customizable boat. It's a custom boat. So what you maybe can't see from this angle is the headroom, but it is designed to be about 6 foot. So that's maximum. I mean, I'm 5'10", and I've maybe got, yeah, just about 2 inches under me, above me, and the same when I walk through the boat here as well. So that is because, you know, they chose to reduce the owner wanted to reduce the freeboard by 10 centimeters to give real focus on the aesthetics, the lines and look of the boat, and bravo. But it does mean a Dutch owner or a tall Scandinavian type might not be so suited to this particular boat. Really nice chart table area. I found myself sitting here a lot already on the boat. It's you're in communication with those around. It's comfortable. You've got views. You can see what's going on, and there's space and comfort enough to work in. Big chart drawer. You know, plenty of space for instruments, like the analog switches for the tanks there, and a nice switch panel for the 24. This is 24 volt boat, so it's run with 2 alternators off the main engine, and yeah, access to all the electronics behind there, plentiful. There's also stowage below the seat itself and in little lockers outboard. And then behind you have the heads area. So again, this will show you the sort of volumes we're looking at for a 47 footer. Very small sink area, it's functional. I still have standing headroom here, but I don't as I move into the heads area. So yeah, you would have to accept the fact that you'd be sitting down to shower and not even have full sitting room on the heads itself. But nicely done. Electric flush, good stowage behind and that sort of thing. Personally, if I was keeping a boat in the mid, I'd be showering off the aft deck anyway. And then the port aft cabin. What I really like about in here is the nice sculpted section here where you can sit up against that hull lining, the tongue and groove on the hull lining, you know, to read on the berth itself. So there's a good amount of headroom as you come in here. Again, all limited to that 6 foot max. Ventilation out of there, and another one further aft. Access to the engine room under the berth, and yeah, bank of a couple of lockers. A lot of these things, you know, yet to be finished. You can see the exposed wiring because, you know, it doesn't have an owner now. So a lot of the areas that you would then say, well, I want this, this, and this in certain sections, yet to be done. The last few percent. A lock on it. But yeah, I like the switches, I like the little details, lots of power outlets, USBs, that sort of thing. And again, plenty of light. Wide open saloon and open companionway area, open style format. So the galley is, well, it's like it's like a galley, just smaller. So you've got the essentials in a more of a micro format. So a 2-burner hob and a 1.5 sink, just quite small. Equally a small lift top fridge, and then stowage behind in those 3 lockers, and a small bank of 3 drawers. There's a grey water diverting valve there, and the water pump, and there'll be a large bin fitted there as well. And then you can see from here a small step down into the saloon area. And if I find a sucker to lift up this bilge, I'll show you in the bilge itself while we're here. So the bilge is split, so you have this large carbon stringer running up through the middle. It divides this bilge in half, so you have pumps and bilges separated each side, port and starboard. Other thing you notice just how clean it is. It's lightweight panels. Everything is foam core, all the furniture, there's no plywood on the boat. All foam core to keep it lightweight, and just nice attention to detail in there. Cork used around there to insulate floorboards. Again, same with the saloon table. Room to customise, big long fixed table, you know, bar and bottle stowage areas in it. Below the berths itself are the water tanks, fuel tanks even, with stowage further outboard. That one has a compressor in, big recess there for the whole window, and you've got a locker, double locker each side. Again, it's the natural light you really enjoy and appreciate here. I mean, that's what's nice from this slightly lower saloon height, is it's about right standing headroom to look out sightline wise. When you're up here at the galley, a little bit high, so you end up sort of crouching down a little to get your eye level in. But again, that's me at my height. Moving forward, you'll see this is where the squared off coach roof ends, where the mast base is, deck step mast, so there's the support for it below. And that is where your standing headroom ends as well, because you move forward into the forward cabin. There's, shortens right down, so you're bending basically till you sit at this berth. But it is nice and wide and good stowage space in here, considering the plan for the boat for short-term cruising. It has this recess running along here, which is designed to take sliding doors. So, if you wanted to shut this off, you put sliding doors in, but they would take up a little bit more of this space here. So the recess is there for those that do want to fit them. And then, hanging stowage each side, bank, a couple of drawers below it, same again to starboard. And nice deep drawers below the berth as well. Further forward from that is the water tank and batteries as well. So Hook like to, because there's not much buoyancy aft, they like to put the weight of the boat, extra weight like that, a bit further forward so it doesn't drag the aft end. Nice amount of natural light and ventilation coming from that big hatch, and the large hull windows each side. So the companionway steps lift to expose the engine room, bar there to keep the lid open, and nice big area forward. This one has a starter battery in it, has the manifolds for the 2 diesel tanks there, and water separator for the diesel, and then the engine mounted a bit further aft, and you can see that panel there which gives full side access, and from the port side as well. So if you want to get at the rest of the engine, sail drive mounted engine, and the muffler and that sort of thing, you can get in from the sides. And here we are in the locker itself, showing you the access panels for the rear, the muffler access and the engine access panels. Same size again on the port side there. Modern appendages underneath, so you have a T-keel and a high aspect rudder, and the keel is 4 tons worth of ballast. Overall boat weight 11.5 tons displacement. And when this was commissioned, it was agreed upon around 700,000 euros. Price now would have gone up because build slot deliveries are 2024 now, so yeah, it's at least a €750,000 yacht. What's this going to bring? Another big yacht, expensive high-end yacht for short daytime type sailing, but yeah, I knew as soon as I saw it, I liked it, I love the look of it, and I think that's what owners will fall for. And actually found myself thinking, well, actually, because of its build, because it's this solid composite build, very rigid, stiff hull, built to, you know, ocean standards, with watertight bulkheads, laminated deckheads, and laminated bulkheads into the hull itself. You've got a rigid structure that will look after you. You've got plenty of accommodation space if you want it. So I kind of get it now, having spent time on the boat. You fly in, you have the boat, you keep your yacht in a beautiful location where you've got, especially in the Med, where you've got these light breezes that you can easily take it out, maximize, get out sailing easily, and enjoy being behind the wheel. And you know, even if you've only got 5 or 8 knots of true wind, you get a really nice sailing experience from it. And there is space for you and your partner, or even your family, or whoever it's going to be, your friends, to be on here for a few days. You know, you fly out with just cabin baggage and spend some time on the boat and enjoy it, and know that you can take on some good weather. It's got some nice deep cockpit, it's well laid out, and it sails really well. It's obviously geared to get it to heal quickly, to power up quickly, so you'd need to depower it, but they've done a really nice job building it. I think it needs the extra few % of finishing here and there, but that will come with the right owner. It's only tragic that this owner who commissioned the yacht never got to see it finished, but some lucky owner will. Anyway, if you haven't seen our test of the PC55, the video on that from a few years ago, we'll link to that. Hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. And until next time, signing out. That's 8 knots, fetching in 9 knots true wind with just white sails.